Well, good morning. One of my favorite titles for God in the Old Testament is El Shaddai. And it's a lovely thing. It means mountain God, the God of the high places. In that wonderful love book in the Bible, the Song of Songs, the beloved, the wife says, I see my beloved leaping across the mountains, bounding across the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle, like a young stag. And of course, you know already, mountain God came to rest on Calvary. And from Calvary, he spoke to the whole world and he said, I thirst. Okay, last week, we were trying to do synopsis stuff. And anyway, truthfully, there was 2 parts to it and I screwed up the second part completely. So, well, you know, what can I tell you? So there are 3 incidents where you can open Matthew, Mark, Luke, and find the story of Jesus healing Simon's mother-in-law. And that's what I mean by synoptic. You can put them down side by side and you can see the same story, which is lovely. Well, I hadn't fully realized that the same thing is done here in the 3 Gospels, the synoptic Gospels, with demonic possession. Are you ready? Okay, and for your own protection, before we go into the demonic field, bear in mind what Paul said to us, all beings in the heavens, the angels, on the earth, ourselves, and under the earth, the demons, must bow the knee at the name of Jesus. That's enough to drive him out. So here's the first one. The demoniacs of Gadara. When he reached the country, Jesus reached the country of the Gadarenes and the other side, 2 demoniacs, 2 people viciously possessed by the devil came towards him out of the tombs. Where are they living? They're living in a graveyard. Come to him out of the tombs. Creatures so fierce that no one could pass that way. You're going to your house someday on foot and there's several devils outside your door. No one could pass that way. They stood there shouting, the demoniacs, what do you want with us, Son of God? Isn't that interesting? Peter doesn't know who Jesus is. Most of the apostles don't know who he is, but the possessed man knows who he is. What do you want with us, Son of God? Have you come here to torture us before the time? The time of the final separation, heaven, hell. Now, some distance away, there was a large herd of pigs feeding, and the devils pleaded with Jesus, if you cast us out, send us into the herd of pigs. Better to dwell in the pigs for the devils than in hell. Send us into the pigs. And he said to them, go then, go. And they came out and made for the pigs. At that, the swineherds, the pig keepers, the sheep killers, the swineherds ran off and made for the town where they told the whole story, including what had happened to the demoniacs. At this, the whole town set out to meet Jesus, and as soon as they saw him, they implored him to leave the neighborhood. Isn't that interesting? They asked Jesus to leave, not the devils. Go, Jesus, go. So a different understanding here. There are people on the face of the planet who are willfully possessed. They don't want to go any place. They are content with their host. And at another time, I shared with you the man possessed who threw me down on the floor of the confessional and spoke over me that judgment has already been passed on this world. As you're listening to this, the world has already been judged. And the judgment in question is this, that the light came into the world and men prefer the darkness because their deeds were evil. So there's the choice in Matthew. Then you can choose the darkness, you can choose evil, you can choose sin. The frightening dignity we have as human beings, we can even reject God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So choose Christ then, that you and your descendants may live. Moving right along. Second story of the demoniac. And we're back with Mark again. Now this one is a bit longer, but it's very interesting. Anyway, here we are again, on the road again. We're in Mark's Gospel. We're in chapter 5. And there's another story of a possessed man, or more. Are you ready? They, Jesus and the 12, reached the country of the Gadarenes on the other side of the lake. Let us cross over to the other side. Cross over. And no sooner had he left the boat than a man with an unclean spirit came from the tombs towards him. The man lived in the tombs, and no one could secure him any more, even with a chain, because he had often been secured with fetters and chains, but snapped the chains and broken the fetters, and no one had the strength to console him. All night, all day, among the tombs and in the mountains, he would howl and gash himself with stones. Catching sight of Jesus from a distance, he ran up and fell at his feet and shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus? What do you want with me? What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God?" Now, isn't it interesting that the apostles still don't know who Jesus is? But the possessed devils in the man know who he is. "Swear by God, you will not torture me." For Jesus had been saying to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." "What is your name?" Very interesting. What is your name? You ask somebody's name, you have a certain control over them. Moses tried to ask God his name. What is your name? After the fall, Adam named all the animals and called his wife Eve. It's a control thing. What is your name? Jesus asked. "My name is Legion." So 1,000 soldiers in the Roman legion? He answered, "For there are many of us in here." And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the district. Now there were on the mountainside a great herd of pigs feeding, and the unclean spirits begged him, "Send us to the pigs, let us go into them." When he gave them leave, with that, the unclean spirits came out and went into the pigs, and the herd of about 2,000 pigs charged down the cliff into the lake, and there they were drowned. Think of pigs, belly up. The swineherds ran off and told their story in the town and in the country round about, and the people came to see what had really happened. They came to Jesus and saw the demoniac, the possessed man, sitting there, clothed and in his full senses. The very man who had the legion in him before, and they were afraid. These who witnessed it reported what had happened to the demoniac and what had become of the pigs. Then they began to implore Jesus to leave the neighborhood. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed begged to him to be allowed to stay with him. And I think we on our journey, whether you know it or not, should always be begging, the Lord to stay with us. Jesus, I love you, possess me. Stay with us who are living at the end of the ages. Jesus would not let him, but said to him, go home to your family, to your people, and tell them all that the Lord in his mercy has done for you. So the man ran off and proceeded to spread through the 10 cities. Talk about preaching the gospel. Went through the 10 cities, all that Jesus had done for him, and all were amazed. Thing of beauty, right? Hundreds of devils bowing the knee. The devil, in a way, here, as you saw for yourself, was the first one to let us know and preach the gospel. What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? Of course, the answer is yes, I have come to destroy you, deliver us from evil. Finally, Luke. Okay. 3 synoptics, little extra details in each one. I'd encourage you to read them one after another, side by side, for yourself. This one here from Luke. Remember, Luke was a physician. They came to land in the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. He was stepping ashore when a man from the town who was possessed by devils came towards him. For a long time the man had worn no clothes, nor did he live in a house, but in the tombs. Now there are graveyards around Ocala. Just want you to know where this fella lived, upper class housing in a graveyard. It's quieter neighborhoods and all of those things in the graveyards. I walk around there myself occasionally. Catching sight of Jesus, he gave a shout, fell to his feet, and cried out at the top of his voice, what do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you, do not torture me. Can you answer that question yourself? What does Jesus want with the likes of you and me and your parents who have died and the people of Manhattan, Beijing, South Africa? What do you want? What do you want with me? So, and the answer to that is, I want you to be possessed by me. When you say thy kingdom come, you're asking for me, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, to rule over your life. Now there was a large herd of pigs feeding there on the mountain, and the devils pleaded with him to let them go into these. So they gave them leave. The devils came out of the man and went into the pigs, and the pigs charged down the cliff of the lake and were drowned. When the swineherds saw what had happened, they ran off and told their story in the town and in the country round about. And the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the devils had gone out, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his full senses, and they were afraid. So maybe when the Lord begins to restore some of us to our full senses and takes over, maybe people will be afraid at first. We walking around with Jesus in us. The entire population was in a state of panic and asked Jesus to leave. Hey, Jesus, get out of here, please. I think people do that nowadays as well. They might still, have the appearances of going to Mass and other little things, but deep down, who knows? So he got into the boat and went away. Jesus will never go away from us, in case you're wondering. And even if you do choose the darkness, even right down to the second of your death, Jesus will pursue you. When you saw the example with the thief on the cross, today you'll be with me in paradise. The man from whom the devils had gone out asked to be allowed to stay with him, but he sent them away. Go back home, he said, and repeat all that God has done for you. Can you imagine myself or Father Shania at the end of Mass saying, at the end of Mass, go home now and tell everybody what God has done for you. Whether you know it or not, Father Shania and myself do tell you that every week. Go and announce the gospel of the Lord. Have I done it? Have you done it? Has anybody done it? But it remains. Go and announce the gospel of the Lord. The best I can do to help you out is that someday maybe you'll get an opportunity to tell people the gospel. And it might embarrass the life out of you, but look at the person straight in the face and say, Christ has died. Past tense, Christ is risen. Present tense, Christ will come again in glory soon. There's your gospel. Bye-bye.